Howdy, and welcome to the Anza Borrego Desert. Today is January 18th, 2021, and as I said, I'm in the Anza Borrego Desert of Southern California. And let's see, right over there is the Salton Sea. And this spot that I'm at, over this way, where's my finger? Jeez. Over this way, I think. Nope. Over this way, yes. Is where I began to have my spiritual acceleration, where I was in a state of bliss 24 hours a day for nearly 3 months back in the winter of 1993-94. I spent my first month of those 3 months right over there. And I've hiked up. I've never actually been to this spot. I've only looked at it from a distance. And today I've hiked up here with my paraglider, and I am most likely going to leap off of this because the wind is coming from this direction, and it hasn't been doing that all day long, and it just started as I started to do my little recording session. So I woke up this morning, I looked over this way, and I said, I think I'm going to go jump off of that thing, which is something that is so wonderful to be able to do, to say, I think I'm going to go jump off of that thing today, So this is so cool because I could probably jump off of this a couple times today, and that would be just fine with me. I put up a post earlier talking about your brilliance, and I wanted to go into that. I said I would explain what I was talking about, and I want to go into that right now. To my mind, and my understanding of all things metaphysical, is every soul that's on this planet at this time, all over 7.83 billion souls of us, have chosen and agreed to be alive in this world at this moment. And each one of us has brought with us specific and unique tools and gifts to accomplish what our specific and chosen mission is in this incarnation. That's how I see it. Now, you're more than welcome to have your own opinion, and I fully recognize that this is my opinion. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything, and I understand that for some people, what I'm saying is a stretch, and that is what it is. So, I feel that it's incumbent upon us individually and as a society and as a species to recognize that every soul born is here with a specific spiritual purpose. It's incumbent upon us to empower their realization of what that purpose is, their accessing and using their gifts, promoting and supporting them to discover what these things are, and to empower them to accomplish what their specific chosen earthly mission is for this incarnation. That's what society should be geared towards. It's wonderful that 100 years ago, 120, 150 years ago, people realized the value of education, and we may get interrupted with some really loud, obnoxious stuff. There's this, where I am, has now become a state park that encourages people to come with their four-wheelers and run around. Today is the Martin Luther King holiday, so it's that Monday after his birthday was actually Friday, same as my nephew JP, and so we're gonna we're going to have some of that. We're going to have some of that noise in the background, annoying though it may seem. That's better. I thought they were going to come up here, but hallelujah. Man, that's so wonderful. The wind is starting to come from the direction I needed it to. So we're going to do a forward launch right that way. You probably got about, I don't know, probably about 100, 125, 150 feet up. Yeah, more like 125. But it'll be a nice little bunny hop, you know. So, brilliance. Every one of us is an infinite and immortal being in my universe. Which doesn't mean that we all have to like one another. But the more time you spend in the wilderness by yourself, the more you appreciate even the people that suck as souls. Not necessarily what they're doing or what they've done or anything, but just, you know, it's just so fascinating how it's all orchestrated and how it's all playing itself out, you know. And one of the things that helps me to understand what's going on is what started here 30 years ago for me. When I got here 30 years ago, I came out here with a roll of canvas, a bag of rice, and intending to paint my brains out and have a conversation with the source of the universe. And within 3 to 5 days, I started to experience this tremendous sense of euphoria and bliss that ended up lasting for 3 months. And within those first 3 to 5 days, I started to read a book that a friend had given me called The Autobiography of a Yogi, which is written by Paramahansa Yogananda, whose ashram is about 100 miles that way in Encinitas, towards on the coast. And that's where I ended up going straight from here after being out here a month back then. And for those of you who don't know, Paramahansa Yogananda was the Swami, Hindu Swami that brought Kriya Yoga to the West. That was his chosen mission. And he established the Self-Realization Fellowship, which is based in Los Angeles, which is about 2 hours that way. And I'm not a follower of anybody at this point, but I have a lot of respect for that whole tradition. And Paramahansa Yogananda's guru is this brother named Sri Yukteswar. And I got a lot to say. I can't really see what if you're trying to say something to me or type something. I'll look at it afterwards, hopefully. So I'm just gonna try to keep this as concise as I can and not answer any questions online right now. No disrespect. So, Yogananda's guru's name is Sri Yukteswar, and he published a book in, I think, 1936 called The Holy Science. And in the preface to that book, he lays out this whole understanding of the concept of the great cycles called the Yugas. And according to him, this great cycle is a 24,000 year cycle. it's an egg-shaped orbit of the solar system around its supposed twin. And the sharp end of the egg is the point in the orbit when the solar system is at the furthest point from the galactic center. And the fat end of the egg is the point where the solar system comes closest to the galactic center. And the significance of this cycle, according to him, is it basically determines the potential of human consciousness on the Earth, depending where we are in that orbit, which kind of leads one to an understanding that the closer we get to the galactic center, the easier it is for incarnate souls, and this is what he said, is the closer we get to the galactic center, the easier it is for incarnate souls to perceive and manifest divinity. And the further away from the galactic center, the more challenging it is. And so you might wonder, where are we in that cycle, David? Well, the cycle is divided into two parts, the ascending phase and the descending phase. The ascending phase goes like this. From that point that is furthest from the galactic center, which he said we were at in 499 AD, you had the 100 years, then 1,000 years, then 100 years, then 200 years, 2,000 years, 200 years, 300 years, 3,000 years, 300 years, 400 years, 4,000 years, 400 years, and then you're at the point that's closest to the galactic center. That's the ascending phase. The descending phase goes in reverse. It goes 400 years, 4,000 years, 400 years, 300 years, 3,000 years, 300 years, 200 years, 2,000 years, 200 years, 1,000 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, 100 years, and then you're back at the point that's furthest from the galactic center. And I've written about this a lot in several of my books because I feel it's critical. It's critical for this age to understand our place in that cycle. And where we are in that cycle is we are 100 years into the 2,000-year, what's called the Dwapara cycle, moving in the ascending phase, moving back towards the galactic center. That's why you have been experiencing an acceleration in the world from the moment you were born. And every soul that's born from now until for the next 10,000 years is going to experience that same acceleration. That sense of that, things are just getting more and more and more. So what this has to do with you specifically and your brilliance is whether you're aware of it whether you're aware of it yet or not, you have these specific gifts to share with the world. And one of those gifts is your brilliance and your light. And one of the main ways that you can share that light is through compassion, exercising awareness, exercising your consciousness. So what this means specifically, no matter what is happening at any moment, whether you're by yourself or with other people, whether you care to or not, you at every moment have the opportunity to exercise compassion and consciousness. I'm going to say that again. At every moment, you have the choice of whether or not to exercise compassion and consciousness. Now, the most important person for you to exercise this compassion on is yourself, first and foremost, because if you don't start there, it's all BS, right? And the way that you change the world is by being conscious. It's by making a conscious choice to do something different than your habits and your set ideas about what the world is and what it isn't, and what people's capacities are, and all that kind of stuff. It starts right here, like with you. The moment, after you finish watching this, you're gonna go back to your scrolling, and every one of us has these, we have these biases, right? So a picture comes up, and we see who it's from, and there are certain people that we don't want to pay any attention to, and there's certain people we want to pay attention to, and there are certain people that we want to give props to, and there's certain people that we don't want to. Examine that. Just look at it. Don't do anything different than you normally do, but just recognize and acknowledge, I feel this way about this person. Is that how I want it to be for the rest of my life, or do I want to change that? And you can do that very simply by giving them some love, right? Or not. By sending them a message. I don't care about whatever the heck's going on with you. What I do care about is the fact that I just love you. I just appreciate the fact that you exist and that we know one another. And whatever it is you're challenged by right now, I support you in whatever way I can. Just let me know if there's anything I can specifically do for you. You know what I mean? Now, that's a stretch. I don't expect everybody to be doing that, but you have the option at any moment. If you're standing in line at the supermarket, right? And you don't like the way somebody's looking or doing something around you, you can look at it. Just look at how what it's not what they're doing. It's what are you doing inside with that? Is this your go-to attitude? Are you comfortable living with that attitude? If not, change it up, right? I have, my sister right now is going through, hopefully she's recovering from COVID. She's had it for about 2 weeks now. And the other day I just realized, as I came into my awareness, I'm listening to the divine vibration, the ever-present sound, which is really easy to hear around here, by the way, when you're in the desert, right? But I've cultivated, for the past 30 years, I've cultivated being able to hear it and listen for it always. That is the main, if you want to change your life, you want to practice conscious evolution, listen to the divine vibration, recognizing that it is the source of all that exists in the physical plane of existence, right? It is infinite love. At the core of it is infinite love. That's what it's emanating from. And where is it coming from? Everywhere. It is literally what is making all of this happen, right? And it's conscious and it's infinite love, right? And we have the choice of whether or not to tap into that at any moment. So if we're standing in line at the supermarket, and we're way back there, there's like 6 people ahead of us and everything like that, and we've got our little Twinkies in one hand, our little, googob in the other, that was so important for us to go into that store for. We have a choice. We can be all upset about the fact that we have to wait for the line, or we can listen to the divine vibration, and we can radiate love to everybody else in the whole friggin' universe. So the other day, I'm thinking about my sister and how she's having a hard time breathing. And I realize, as I'm breathing, I can just be breathing for her. I can send her light from here, from my lungs, from my heart. I can send her light, If I don't do it, it's not happening. But if I do it, maybe something good will come from it, right? And maybe it'll make things a little better. Because frankly, she's there, I'm here, there's not a whole else I can do except worry, right? And that's not doing either one of us any good. So I decided that I was going to just send light. I'm just going to send my sister light. And I'm going to do my best to breathe. And every time I breathe, I'm giving her a little extra. I'm going to keep breathing for my sister. I'm going to breathe a little deeper for my sister. And everybody else that I know that is going through this. Like, unfortunately, I have a friend that's my age, and she lost her daughter, who was 23, to this a couple of months ago. And I every time I think about her, I just have to open my heart. I have to pour in some compassion. I cannot know what she's going through. I can only know about what she's going through. And this was her only child. She was a single mother, and she's gone, to this ridiculousness. But she's gone, and she's not coming back. But she was here, and she's touched me. I knew her daughter as well, and she was an amazing person. And I just can't help but know that girl is moved on to something, another amazingness. She must have done what she came here to do, because she was a liver, that girl. My stepmother died of COVID in the first month and a half of that whole nonsense. While I was going through my chemo radiation treatment, she died in a nursing home. And I got to tell you, I actually felt better for her, because she had dementia. She was in a room with two other people in the middle bed and in her own little world and everything like that. And that was going to be the rest of her life. So in that case, it was a liberation for her. My father had already passed 5 years before, and my father was her world. And, life was not going to get any better for her. So in a way, COVID was her exit. And because I had been wondering when I went to visit her there, I was like wondering, how is she going to go how is she going to leave the world? And so she did. And I'm happy to say this summer I was able to finally able to make it to her gravesite, and they did a wonderful job. But it's a time when all of us are here, that are still here, are a call to service. It's like, what service can we give to the world? We're all called to contemplation. That's the first thing. It's like contemplating, like, the whole world has been brought to its knees, and people have been brought into a place where they have to consider, like, it's not about how much money I'm making or not making or what I'm doing today. Or it's really like, what am I doing in this life, right? So anyway, I think you get the general idea. I think I'm gonna push on now, but I just wanted to share a little bit about this whole thing about the Yugas. The fact that from here on, in this understanding of the Yugas, we are moving for the rest of our lives, and the seventh generation, which is what we should all be thinking about, is how can we make the world better for the seventh generation. I feel that the answer to that at this point is to make sure that everybody on the planet has everything they need, to fulfill their earthly mission, to share their gifts with everybody. We should not be tearing one another down. We should be building one another up, creating safe environments for people to really be their best, be their best versions of themselves. And that's one of the main reasons and one of the main things that attracted me. And that's how I ended up here. This is my I think this was my third rainbow gathering. There was a rainbow gathering here in 1990, in the fall of 1991. No, fall of 1992. And for those of you that I see, there's a couple of people on here right now that were at that have been to rainbow gatherings. Everybody's Kitchen kind of started here. They started in Colorado, I think, but they came here after Colorado, and that's how I met everybody, Floppy and all those folks, and we got really tight here. And one of the things that I loved about and I love about Rainbow is that's the environment, that's the future of the world. Rainbow is the future of the world. Whether we're in buildings or not buildings, that's not what's important. What's important is how we treat one another and how we empower one another. And it's not about how we exploit one another, it's about how we empower one another. And it's not about how we use one another, it's about how we build one another up, right? And which isn't to say that at some point we don't have, you know, it's about keeping one another accountable and checking our own self about why are we doing that? Why are we checking one another? You know, making sure that we're coming from a pure place if we can, if it's at all possible. One of the main things I love about Rainbow is it provided me with an opportunity to really be my best self. You know, I love waking up in the morning at a gathering because I felt safe, I felt I belonged, and I didn't know what I was going to do that day, but I did know, I had a sense that I was going to do everything I could to just, it's like you could go around and be your own superhero. You know, you could just go around and like, let's dig a shitter, let's you know, build a kitchen, you know, let's chop some wood for everybody, let's cook some food for everybody, let's hold a council and, you know, listen to one another, you know, really listen to one another. And when you spend time in that kind of environment, it becomes very obvious how the world should work, you know, because it works in that environment. And then when you leave that environment and you go back into what the Burning Man people called the default world, you see the disparity between that place of mutual respect and admiration and support to a place where people are just ignoring one another, or doing their best to try to pretend like they're ignoring one another, and they're all harboring their own little, how do I navigate this environment? You know, how do I get past this person, or how do I not pay any attention to that person? And you know, that takes a lot of energy that could be better used by just saying hello. Right? So anyway, once again, thanks for listening, and we're gonna do my favorite part here. There, take that. All right. Catch you on the flip side. Yes.